I don't know if it'll do better than anything I've ever done. Okay, Big Sean. Yeah. You just slip on Post Malone, Travis Scott, Lil Wayne, and Eminem and expect not to sell at least 50K the first week? Okay. Alrighty. Sure. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Music Gauntlet channel. I hope you all are having a wonderful day so far, and today we're going to be talking about the latest Big Sean album, his 5th studio album called Detroit 2. Big Sean, aka Sean Don, is finally back after a 3-year hiatus, his last studio album dropping in February 3rd of 2017, unless you count that Double or Nothing project he did with Metro Boomin, in which it was December 8th of that same year. This was no normal absence though, as it came as a result of his own mental health. A lot like Logic, Sean was at the point where rap music was no longer becoming fun for him anymore, explaining how he'd be in the studio trying to record and he'd either be not satisfied with what he came up with or just not be able to come up with anything that great at all. But instead of retiring like Logic, he's used his time off to actually revitalize his career, stating on this album that he wants to go on yet another decade-long run. It seemed like Sean was going to drop earlier this year upon the release of 2 new singles, that being Berserk with ASAP Ferg and Single Again. And on top of that, he shortly dropped a trailer for the album too, making fans, including myself, think the album was just right on the horizon. But then COVID-19 happened, and I don't know if this was directly linked to why he delayed the album till later this year at this time, but it seems likely considering that's what a majority and a handful of artists did. But like a majority of artists, it seems like he's just deciding to drop it because who knows when anything's gonna get back to normal again. And I'll give him credit, I don't think he just dropped it because he just wanted to drop it. I think he genuinely just wanted his fans to hear this, and he knows how long his fans have been waiting to hear new music, so he felt obligated and from what I've been seeing on social media, pretty happy that this album's finally out. Now, you could say in my younger days I've enjoyed a decent amount of Big Sean's music. You'll have to excuse me there. But it was never because he was the most lyrical and conscious rapper on the planet. It was more so because he made really fun banger music, and when he was being conscious, it wasn't terribly annoying, and I didn't mind hearing it. His best material to me actually would come from when he would hone in and talk about his city, like it's Time off of Hall of Fame, and Bigger Than Me off of I Decided. I mean, come on. I know you'd be lying if you said you didn't feel an urge to sing along with the Flint Chosen Choir on Bigger Than Me. Come on. But okay, let's cut the chit chat. This album is an hour and 11 minutes long. It is stacked to the brim with features. I know the question on everybody's mind is this album any good? And the short answer to that is, yeah, I would even go as far as to say this is his most mature album to date. Sean sounds extremely focused on this thing. I mean, on his past projects, it was only a matter of time before you heard a corny bar, but here it's like once or twice a song, if even that. He's no longer addressing topics from the vague curiosity of a young artist, instead acting like a veteran of his craft and addressing how topics fit into the bigger picture. I would argue what makes this project so good is how he's addressing these topics as opposed to what he's actually saying, because if you looked at that a lot more, there really isn't a whole lot he's saying. But don't get it twisted. Yes, this album is about him being in a dark place over these past couple years and that reminding him of his hard upbringing and him thinking he wouldn't have to struggle again, but having to relive that, kind of being a little traumatizing, like he says on the song Deep Reverence, being on an island still feeling depression somehow, despite being wealthy. But it's also a celebration of black excellence, which is something that's very needed in this current age. In the past, therapy was viewed as a weakness amongst the black community, but Sean normalizes it and even stresses it as being necessary for people to find their inner peace and strive in life. That focus on tranquility is what leads to the cornier moments on this project though, like when he's talking about being zen'd the fuck out, or when he has the outro on feed stating, "What's my purpose? Why is my purpose? Where is my purpose? I am purpose." I'm assuming this headspace is also what led to this bar on Harder Than My Demons, which is just, come on, man. I mean, you're just letting down your community at this point, stating stuff like this, because they're going to take it as fact value because it's you. You're Big Sean. You're an idol to a lot of people, and I don't know. Like, a lot of people have their opinions about this kind of thing, but just saying to not even get a flu shot? Really? But like I said though, the bad bars are substantially less noticeable. Like, he's really honed in on his craft and made his punchlines a lot more wittier, a lot more clever, and even the bad ones he kind of just slipped in there. Maybe he knew they weren't the best ones, but he just kind of shoved them in his flows where he was going a little more quicker paced, you know, harder for the public to pick up on him. So like I was saying, Sean is really good at articulating what it is he wants to say, but oftentimes doesn't have a whole lot to say. Which is why a project that's an hour and 11 minutes long just does not suit his style of rapping. Because so easily a chunk of this album could have been taken out, like at least a good third of it, and it would have been for the better, and he could have condensed down his ideas, because the biggest problem with this album is it's just way too stretched out. It's stretched way too thin and could have been compressed way better into a more concise, solid album. Like on the song Guard Your Heart, Sean is addressing being in the middle of the Pusha Drake beef, the middle of the Jay-Z Kanye beef, and not necessarily knowing what to do, being friends with both sides. But there's no reason why that couldn't have fit into a different song and why he had to make it its own individual verse. Like, it sounds like it would have been perfect for Harder Than My Demons. And I get Lithuania is supposed to be a fun party banger, but it's one of the more dull moments on the project due to Sean and Travis not really saying anything of importance and not helping the flow of the album. And I know, Sean is known for mixing banger songs with conscious songs, but this just felt like a weaker one in that vault. But there was no moment on this project that was outright bad or terrible, and I think a large part of that has to do with the production. And Jesus, Take a Day Trip, No ID, Hit Boy, Teddy Walton, oh my god, this album couldn't have sounded bad. Hit Boy produces a hell of an intro with Why Would I Stop, some hypnotizing and trancing strings in the beginning of it that just sweep you off your feet as soon as the bass just knocks you on your ass. The Take a Day Trip produced track Wolves with Post Malone is just extremely gritty and dark, make you feel like you're on the streets in the middle of the night, scared for your life. And I really like the song The Baddest, the way the beat knocks and trying to keep up with the schizophrenic hi-hats, while also managing to sound like it's the intro theme for some kind of monster movie from the 80s. Really, wherever Sean was having a dull moment or a moment in time where it was not necessarily as good as the rest of the project, the production was just making sure what he was saying had some kind of relevancy and importance. It seemed like every producer that was a part of this project really had a passion for Sean's dream and wanted to make it come true. They could tell he was putting in the effort with his rapping and wanted to do so accordingly with their production. And I want to talk about Full Circle here for a second. That song just sounds so good production-wise. Like, for anybody that's listened to the last Injury Reserve album, it sounds like Best Seat in the House and Wax On Had a Baby. And that beat switch on Lucky Me is straight nasty. So I guess it's about that time, finally, to address the boatload of features on this project and how they range from either just underutilized and forgettable to actually suitable and good for this album. Starting with the latter, the posthumous Nipsey Hussle verse is inspiring yet also being heady, perfect for the atmospheric and contemplative beat that Hit Boy offers, and Wale comes through on Guard Your Heart with a wonderful performance talking about Black Lives Matter and police brutality in America. Like, god damn, Wale. But then you have songs like the before-mentioned Wolves, where Post Malone doesn't do a bad job, but his verse was just completely unnecessary. Like, they should have just had him do the background vocals, which worked extremely well to the effect. But when he had his own verse, it kind of just killed the momentum. And Young Thug on the track Respected just sounded completely out of place. Like, I love that dude's style, respect his craft, but on this Hit Boy produced song, he just sounded like he had no idea what the flow should be or what he should even be doing on this project. Travis Scott, likewise, didn't do a bad job, but like, just the whole verse was completely forgettable. And like I said earlier, that whole song was just kind of a dud, but especially Travis. Hook was fine, but verse didn't really add anything at all. And finally, to address the Friday Night Cypher, it was good overall. I liked how it flowed, I liked the structure of it, I liked the whole idea of it too, Big Sean bringing together a bunch of Detroit artists to just rap continuously. But because the song has so many rappers on it, and because of course you gotta give Eminem at least over 2 minutes of rapping, a lot of the rappers, especially like Boldy James, don't get a lot of time to continue, where you know they could have kept going and probably had some more bars in there. And God bless Sada Baby's heart, love the dude, love the artist, but it sounds like they really just shoehorned him in here. His style was the most clunky out of all of them. But there were some really standout lines, like from T Grizzly saying he bought an expensive grill but isn't smiling because he lost it. And the Eminem pull it surprise line like Kendrick Lamar, I was actually kind of blown away by that one. It was pretty clever. But this kind of goes back to my earlier argument and a problem I have with the project. Like, I respect the fact that you put a cypher on here with a bunch of Detroit artists, and I respect the fact that you had different black icons on this project speak out and say what they love about Detroit, like Dave Chappelle and Erykah Badu and Stevie Wonder. But then why you gotta put 2 sex anthems on here with Body Language and Time In? They're both about your love with Jhené Aiko, so why make 2 songs out of it? Oh, I get it, because one of them's 2088. It's not just you and Jhené Aiko. It's a special name for it. Okay. But at the end of the day, I do really like this project and appreciate what Sean was able to accomplish with it. It being a sequel to Sean's previous mixtape Detroit, it does sound like a love letter to that city, almost to like the 10th degree. This album serves as a reminder that in order for there to be black unity in America, each individual needs to realize their own self-worth and their own self-respect, because you can't accomplish anything greater beyond that without accepting those terms first. While yes, this album can be full of excitement, its underlining meaning is just to appreciate and show love to your roots, because where you came from means everything, especially down to your character. Despite some points where Sean can get off topic or starts rambling, or despite some features that were kind of lackluster and didn't aid in the flow of the project, the sharp and hard-hitting beats make this project able to be listened to from start to finish, though a little bit of a slog at times, still able to be done, and Sean's wisdom comes through as being holistic instead of being empty-minded. If Sean does plan on going on another 10-year run, then I'm very interested to see where that takes him because he sounds more focused than ever and somehow more hungry than ever. And as far as my album rankings go, yeah, I think this is my favorite Big Sean album so far. Followed by Dark Sky Paradise, I Decided, Hall of Fame, Double or Nothing, and then finally Famous. And I so desperately wanted to put the original Detroit mixtape on here because that is one of my favorite Sean projects, especially that track, How It Feel. Oh, I love that song. But technically it is a mixtape, so I had to exempt it from this list. As far as my top 5 favorite songs from the project, I will go with Why Would I Stop, Deep Reverence, Everything That's Missing, Guard Your Heart, because of that Wale verse, obviously, and the Friday Night Cypher. And I think that is going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate if you watched all the way into the end. Let me know your guys' opinion. What did you think of this project? Do you think it's one of his best work? Do you think it's some of his worst work? Where does this rank amongst his album? Let me know in the comments section. I would love to hear it. I'll leave the links to my Instagram and Twitter in the description, so if you want to at me on there, we can talk about it there as well. And that is all I got for you guys. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Little bitch.